My wife's mom's fake lawyer tried to steal my multi-million family palace. She didn't know I'm a real lawyer playing her game until justice struck. Be me, 31-year-old civil engineer. Been hesitant to share this story for months. Finally decided it's time. Mix of weird and frustrating stuff that's actually funny now that it's over. Working at this big construction company for 8 years. Don't like telling people what I do. Better when they underestimate you. Plus everyone gets weird when they hear your profession. Either want free advice or start acting different. Just keep it low-key, unless I have to mention it. Married to Lily for about 6 years. We're solid together, real team players, which is crucial when dealing with certain family members, especially her mom, Karen. Karen is something else. One of those people who's always right, always knows best, has to control everything. Moment I met her, knew she wasn't happy about me. For context, Lily grew up in this super close family, but Karen ran the whole show. Controlled everything from vacation plans to Christmas dinner menus. Type of person with opinions on literally everything. Never holds back from sharing them either. When I showed up in the picture, Karen saw me as some kind of threat. Wasn't the fancy doctor or CEO she probably wanted for her daughter. Grew up regular middle class. Worked my ass off through engineering school. Doing pretty well now. But Karen couldn't care less. To her, I'm just the guy stealing her daughter away. First tried keeping things civil. She's my mother-in-law after all. Lily loves her. Figured I'd just deal with it. But Karen made that pretty much impossible. Karen had this special way of making comments. Sound innocent on the surface, but clearly meant to dig at me. At family dinners, she'd pull this stuff. Oh, you're an engineer? My friend's son designs rockets for NASA. Or, it's nice that you work so hard. Lily's ex never had to. His family has real money. Lily always had my back though. Would call her mom out every time. But Karen would play victim instantly. Just making conversation. Didn't mean anything by it. Classic Karen move. Real drama kicked off when my uncle passed away. This was like 2 years back. Left me this small beach house in his will. Nothing fancy. Just a little 2-bedroom place. Been in the family forever. Paint's all peeling. Roof needs work. Plumbing's questionable at best. But it's got this certain charm to it. Lily and I fell in love with it right away. Decided to fix it up. Make it our weekend getaway spot. Karen lost it as soon as she heard about the beach house. Started acting real weird. First just made these little comments. A beach house is a lot of responsibility at your age. Are you sure you can afford the upkeep? Stuff that was annoying but easy to ignore. Then she started showing up unannounced, claiming she was just in the area. We live like 75 miles from her. Beach house is even further. Her excuse made 0 sense. One day caught her snooping around the house. While Lily and I were out, our neighbor Thomas, this retired guy, keeps an eye on the place for us. Called to tell me he saw some woman with huge hair. Poking around the property, Karen's got this hair that could survive a hurricane. Knew it was her right away. When I confronted her about it, acted like it was totally normal. Just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Like trespassing is no big deal. Things got even stranger after that. Started noticing small changes around the house. Chair moved here. Window unlocked there when I knew I'd locked it. Little items out of place. Lily thought I was imagining things. But I knew something was up. One day came back from grocery shopping. Found this folder sitting on the kitchen table. Inside were all these property documents. Thought it was some kind of joke at first. Then saw Karen's handwriting in the margins. She'd written stuff like family legacy and secure ownership. That's when everything clicked. Karen wasn't just being nosy. She had some master plan for the house. Decided to play it smart. Kept quiet about finding the folder. Wanted to gather more information. Being an engineer taught me to collect all the facts before confronting anyone. Plus wanted to see how far she'd take this. Set up some security cameras around the house. Nothing creepy. Just in the common areas to catch any suspicious activity. Within a week had solid proof. Footage showed Karen letting herself in. Using a spare key she must have copied. Without us knowing, showed the footage to Lily. She was absolutely livid. Confronted her mom right away. Karen denied everything at first. Then switched tactics, just trying to help. Classic Karen move. Lily told her to stay away from the house. Things seemed to calm down for a while. Should have known Karen wouldn't let it go. That would be too easy. About 6 months later, that's when things went completely insane. Karen showed up at Beach House, one sunny Tuesday morning, completely uninvited. Big surprise there. With some guy she proudly introduced as my lawyer, was eating my breakfast burrito, enjoying the peace and quiet. when Lily called me out to the porch, stepped outside, and there they were. Karen in her signature too-tight blazer, hair reaching for the heavens. And this guy who looked like he Googled how to dress like a lawyer 5 minutes ago, holding a briefcase older than time itself, had this nervous look, like he wasn't sure why he was there either. Karen puts on her brightest fake smile. "Good morning," she chirps, like she hasn't just barged onto private property. "We need to talk about some important family matters." Raised my eyebrow at that one. "Is that so?" "Yes," she says, sweeps past me like she owns the place. "It's about the future of this house, and you're welcome for me coming all this way to help sort it out." I'll admit I was curious. Karen isn't usually this bold. Figured I'd let her dig her own grave. Before stepping in, meanwhile, Lily's staring at her mom, like she just announced she's running for president. Karen gestures to the kitchen table, sits down and opens up a manila folder. "Marcus, let's get started." Snaps her fingers at the guy in the Halloween suit. Marcus, who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, fumbles with his briefcase, pulls out a stack of papers, glance at Lily. She mouths, "What the hell?" Just shrug back. This is Karen's show. Not about to interrupt the performance. Yet this, Karen begins, tapping the top sheet with her manicured finger, is a transfer of ownership agreement. It's very simple. You and Lily will sign the house over to me. I'll ensure it remains within the family for generations. Just stare at her, trying not to laugh. "You want us to sign the house over to you?" "Yes," she says, like it's the most reasonable request ever. "It's for the best. You're young, inexperienced. Frankly, this kind of property is a lot of responsibility. It needs someone who understands its value. And that someone is you?" Barely holding back a grin. "Exactly," she says, looking proud of herself. "It's not personal, dear. It's just what's best for the family." Marcus, still shuffling papers around, like a magician prepping for a card trick, finally speaks up. "If you'll just take a look here," slides a paper toward me. "Pick it up and scan it quickly." It's an absolute joke. Wording is sloppy. Half the clauses are missing. Typos everywhere. Everything about this lawyer screams fake, from his nervous sweating, to the way he can't make eye contact. Decide to have some fun. Ask him some basic legal questions. Any first-year law student could answer. Watch him squirm and stumble, while Karen keeps trying to cut in. "Karen," I say, setting the paper down. "Did you write this yourself?" Her face flushes. "Of course not. Marcus is a professional." "Right," I say. Turn to Marcus. "So, Marcus, what law school did you go to?" He blinks. Well, I didn't exactly finish." Cut him off. "Okay, no problem. What's your bar number?" Marcus starts sweating more. I'm not officially licensed." "Not officially licensed?" Repeat, feigning confusion. "So you're not a lawyer?" He stammers something about being in the process. Don't let him finish. "Got it, thanks, Marcus." Karen jumps in, clearly irritated that her plan is unraveling. "Let's not get distracted by technicalities. The important thing is that we move forward with the transfer." "Karen," Lily says, her voice sharp as a knife, "are you serious right now? You brought a fake lawyer to our house and expect us to just hand it over to you?" "It's not fake," Karen snaps back. "Marcus is perfectly capable of handling this." "Sure," I say, leaning back in my chair, "but just for fun? Let's see how capable he is." Turn to Marcus. "Can you explain to me the difference between a quitclaim deed and a warranty deed?" Marcus freezes like a deer in headlights. Karen tries to jump in, hold up my hand to stop her. "No, let Marcus answer." Marcus mumbles something about legal terms and specific clauses, but doesn't actually say anything that makes sense. Nod like I'm impressed. "Great. Now how about you explain the implications of signing a deed transfer without title insurance?" Marcus looks like he might pass out. Karen is visibly fuming now. "This is ridiculous," she says. "Just sign the papers. We can sort out the details later." Stand up, walk over to my briefcase, pull out my own folder. As a practicing civil engineer, I say, laying the folder on the table. "I have a few concerns about these documents." Karen's jaw drops. "You know about property law?" "Yep," I say, popping the P for emphasis. "And these documents? They're garbage. Go through the papers one by one. Point out every single error. Explain in excruciating detail why they're not only invalid, but basically fraudulent." By the time I'm done, Marcus is visibly shaking. Karen is staring daggers at me. You've made your point, she says. Through gritted teeth, oh, I'm not done, I say. Pull out my laptop. You've been poking around the property records, haven't you? Did you think I wouldn't notice? The unauthorized inquiries? Karen's face goes pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't, I say, opening up an email on my screen. This is from the county clerk. Shows that someone made multiple inquiries into the title history of this property. Using your email address. Care to explain? Karen stands up abruptly, knocks her chair over. I was just looking out for the family, she shouts. By trying to steal our house? Lily shoots back. This is insane, Mom. You need to leave. Karen glares at us, then turns to Marcus. We're leaving. Marcus doesn't need to be told twice. Grabs his briefcase, practically sprints out the door. Karen follows, but not before throwing one last line. Over her shoulder. You'll regret this. Once they're gone, Lily and I just sit there, in stunned silence for a moment. Well, she says finally, that was something I'll be filing away for future reference, I say. And that's how Karen's first big plan completely fell apart. Didn't know it at the time, but this was only the beginning of her antics. After Karen's grand transfer the house to me scheme failed, she decided to go into full-blown damage control mode. And when I say damage control, I mean she started dialing up family members, like she was campaigning for office. Apparently Karen's version of events went like this. I was an evil controlling husband, tearing the family apart, brainwashing Lily, forcing her to cut ties with her loving mother. According to Karen, I was practically twirling my villainous mustache while plotting to destroy everything she held dear. Now, Lily's family is pretty tight-knit, but they're not stupid. Most of them know Karen's flair for drama and her habit of bending the truth, like it's a yoga pose. Still, a few relatives called me up, curious about what was really going on. After I explained the whole situation, most people just laughed, told me not to worry. Apparently Karen had been pulling stunts like this for years, though maybe not on this scale. Her reputation for creative truth-telling, as one cousin put it, had already earned her plenty of skeptics in the family. But not everyone brushed it off so easily. A couple of her die-hard supporters, like her sister Christina, who's basically Karen's clone, weren't so quick to believe me. Christina called Lily. Let me tell you, that was a fun conversation to overhear. Lily, I just don't understand why you're letting your husband come between you and your mother, Christina said in that holier-than-thou tone that runs in their family. My husband isn't the problem, Christina, Lily shot back. Mom is the one who tried to steal our house. Well, that's not what she told me, Christina said, like she was some kind of detective, uncovering the truth. Of course it's not, Lily replied, because if she told you the real story, you'd see how ridiculous she's being. Christina tried to argue, but Lily shut her down fast. Look, you can believe whatever you want, but I was there. I saw what she did. End of discussion? Lily hung up. I swear I could see steam coming out of her ears. I don't know why I even bother with her, she muttered. Meanwhile, Karen wasn't just working the phones. She was working herself into a frenzy, started showing up at family events, with this air of martyrdom, dropping little comments like, not sure I'll ever see my daughter again, or some people don't appreciate family anymore. It was peak passive-aggressive Karen, and honestly, it was almost impressive how far she could take it. But things upgraded to a new level when Karen's antics spilled into her professional life. Apparently, she'd been using company resources to dig up information about the beach house. Must have thought no one would notice, but of course someone did. One day, Lily gets a call from one of her cousins who works in HR. Small world, right? Did you hear about Karen? The cousin asks. What about her? Lily replies. She got fired. Apparently, she was using her work email to look up property records and send messages about something shady. Lily put the phone on speaker so I could hear. We both just stared at each other in disbelief. Karen got herself fired, trying to dig up dirt on us. Didn't take long for the rest of the family to find out. Let's just say Karen's reputation took another hit. A few people who had been on the fence started calling us to apologize for doubting our side of the story. I can't believe she went that far, one of Lily's cousins said. She always seemed pushy, but this is next level. Yeah, I said. Welcome to the club. With her job gone and her family starting to distance themselves Karen's social calendar started looking pretty empty. But if you think that slowed her down, you don't know Karen. A week after she got fired, we started getting weird messages from mutual acquaintances. Stuff like, Karen says she's really worried about you guys. Or, Karen mentioned you might be struggling financially. Do you need any help? Didn't take a genius to figure out what she was doing. She was trying to plant the idea that Lily and I couldn't handle the beach house. Guess in her mind, if enough people believed we were incapable, she'd swoop in as the hero. To save the day, I considered confronting her, but Lily convinced me to let it go. She's digging her own grave, Lily said. Let her keep talking? It just makes her look worse. And she was right. The more Karen talked, the more people started to see through her. Even her diehard supporters like Christina were starting to get tired of the drama. But just when we thought things were settling down, Karen pulled her boldest move yet. About a month later, we got a notice in the mail. It was from a lawyer, an actual licensed one this time, informing us that Karen was suing us. When I opened the letter and read the details, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Karen was claiming that she had financially contributed to the repairs and upkeep of the beach house, and therefore had a valid stake in it. Never mind the fact that the house had been left to Lily and me outright, in my uncle's will. Sat there in stunned silence for a moment, before bursting out laughing. She's suing us, I said, waving the letter at Lily. For what? She asked, grabbing the paper. Apparently she thinks she owns part of the house now. I said, still laughing. Because you know, all those non-existent financial contributions she made, and just like that, we were back in the thick of it. After we got the notice, I started gathering everything. Bank statements, receipts, contracts with repair companies, even emails related to the estate. Wasn't about to let her muddy the waters with vague claims and manipulative theatrics. Lily, understandably, was livid. She didn't pay for a single thing. How does she think she's going to prove this? She's banking on us not being able to prove it either, I said. But we can and we will. Her whole case is smoke and mirrors. What do we do now? Lily asked. We show up to court, and we let her dig her own hole, I replied. When the court date finally arrived, we walked into the courtroom, prepared for anything. Karen, of course, was already there, seated at the plaintiff's table, with her lawyer. Unlike fake lawyer Marcus, this one at least looked professional, though he didn't seem particularly enthusiastic about the case. Karen, on the other hand, was in her element, dressed in her signature over-the-top style, had this smug expression, like she'd already won. We sat down, and the judge entered, an older woman who radiated authority. She got straight to business, asking Karen's lawyer to present their case. Karen's lawyer stood up, began what was clearly a rehearsed speech, started by praising Karen's character, describing her as a dedicated and loving mother who only wanted to preserve the family's legacy. Then he moved on to her claims, stating that Karen had personally invested significant funds into the repair and maintenance of the beach house to ensure it remained in good condition. She has receipts, I whispered to Lily. Raising an eyebrow, she has nerve, Lily muttered back. Karen's lawyer continued explaining that while the house was indeed inherited, Karen's alleged financial contributions created an implied interest in the property. She acted in good faith to protect and preserve the family's asset. He concluded. When it was my turn, I decided to keep it short and sweet. Your Honor, the plaintiff's claims are entirely unfounded. The house was left to my wife and me. As part of my uncle's will, it is our property, and there was never any agreement, verbal or otherwise, for shared ownership. The plaintiff has no documentation to support her claims because they are simply not true. The judge nodded, motioned for Karen to take the stand. Karen walked up like she was about to deliver the performance of her life. Mrs. Karen, her lawyer began, can you explain your involvement with the repairs and maintenance of the beach house? Of course, she said, clasping her hands together. When I heard about the house being left to my daughter and son-in-law, I was so happy for them. But the house needed a lot of work, and they were overwhelmed. So I stepped in to help. And how did you help? The lawyer asked. I paid for several repairs, Karen said confidently. Plumbing, roof work, even some landscaping. I didn't keep track of every little thing. Because, well, they're family. I just wanted to make sure the house was livable. I watched her with a neutral expression, but inside I was shaking my head. Karen's ability to spin a story was almost impressive. Her lawyer pressed on. So you contributed financially to the upkeep of the house? Yes, she said. I even offered to oversee some of the work myself. Did the defendants acknowledge these contributions? It was understood, she said, using her favorite vague excuse. When it was my turn to cross-examine, walked up to the stand with my stack of documents. Mrs. Karen, I began, you claim to have contributed financially to the repairs of the beach house. Can you specify the amounts and dates of these payments? She hesitated. Well, I didn't keep an exact record, but it was thousands of dollars. Over several months, thousands of dollars, I repeated. And how were these payments made? Is check, cash? Mostly cash, she said, shifting in her seat. Cash, I said, letting the word hang in the air. And you don't have a single receipt, invoice or bank statement? To corroborate these contributions? She hesitated. It was informal. Family doesn't always keep track of these things. Interesting, I said, turning to the judge, because I have here a complete record of all payments made for the repair and maintenance of the beach house. Every single one was made from our joint account, and I have the receipts and contractor invoices to prove it. Handed the documents to the judge, who began flipping through them. Mrs. Karen, I continued, you also mentioned offering to oversee some of the work yourself. Can you tell us which contractors you worked with? She paused, clearly scrambling for an answer. It wasn't a formal arrangement. She said finally, that's convenient, I replied, because according to these emails from the contractors, every interaction regarding the repairs was handled by me or my wife. Your name doesn't appear anywhere. Stepped back to my table, pulled out one last piece of evidence. Your Honor, I'd also like to submit a copy of the will, which clearly states that the house was left solely to my wife and me. There is no mention of shared ownership or any financial obligations. The judge took the document, glanced at it briefly, then turned back to Karen. Mrs. Karen, she said, her tone firm, this case relies entirely on your assertion that you contributed financially to the property, yet you have provided no evidence to support this claim. Meanwhile, the defendants have provided ample documentation to refute it. Do you have anything else to add? She didn't have anything to say. For the first time, she seemed to realize just how bad this was going for her. The judge dismissed the case shortly after that, ruling entirely in our favor. But before the gavel fell, she added a pointed remark. Mrs. Karen, I strongly advise you to think carefully before pursuing legal action. In the future, without evidence to support your claims, court resources are not here for baseless disputes. As Lily and I walked out of the courtroom, I couldn't help but feel a mix of satisfaction. Karen had tried her best to undermine us, but the truth had prevailed. Of course, knowing Karen, I doubted this was the end of her meddling. And well, I was right. After losing in court so decisively, you'd think she'd take a moment to reflect, maybe reconsider her life choices. But no, Karen doubled down in the only way she knew how, by trying to spin the narrative in her favor. The first ripple of fallout came almost immediately. Karen's failed lawsuit became the family's new favorite topic. Word spread quickly. Within days, I started getting calls and texts from relatives. Most of them wanted the juicy details, but some were genuinely shocked by the lengths Karen had gone to. My favorite call came from Lily's cousin Amanda, who always had a knack for delivering brutal honesty. She really thought she was going to win, huh? Amanda said, laughing. I mean, I knew Aunt Karen was bold, but this is a whole new level. Honestly, I don't even know why she thought anyone would believe her. She's been pulling this kind of crap for years, Amanda added. That sentiment became a common theme in the family. People started sharing stories about times when Karen had manipulated, lied or otherwise inserted herself into situations where she didn't belong. It was like her courtroom flop had opened the floodgates, and everyone was finally ready to air their grievances. Apparently years ago, she had tried to get control over her sister's finances by claiming her sister was too stressed to handle money. Another time she had convinced a cousin to hand over a family heirloom because it would be safer with her, and the heirloom mysteriously disappeared. After that, Lily and I mostly stayed out of the gossip, but it was hard not to feel a little vindicated. Karen's carefully crafted image as the family matriarch was crumbling, and it wasn't because of anything we did. She had dug this hole all on her own. But while the family was turning against her, Karen wasn't about to let go of her grudge. She started sending Lily these long, guilt-trippy texts about how the court case had hurt her deeply, and how she couldn't believe her own daughter would betray her like that. "She's acting like we dragged her to court," Lily said, rolling her eyes as she read the latest message. "Typical Karen," I said. "She's not sorry for what she did. She's just sorry it didn't work." Lily ended up blocking her number for a while, which only escalated things further. Karen took to social media, posting vague passive-aggressive statuses about being abandoned by those you love most. I give it 2 days before she's on Facebook Live, crying in front of a bunch of ceramic angels. I joked it was funny at first, but then Karen started trying to recruit allies. She called up anyone who would listen, spinning a sob story about how Lily and I had turned on her, and how all she wanted was to keep the family together. One of the first people she called was her sister Christina, who had always been one of Karen's staunchest supporters. But even Christina seemed to have her limits. She called me crying. Christina told Lily during a phone call, but honestly, I didn't know what to say. "I mean, you're my niece. And what she did, it was wrong. I can't defend her this time." Hearing that from Christina was a big deal. If Karen was losing her, she was losing her biggest cheerleader. Despite the backlash, Karen wasn't ready to go quietly. Her next move was to try to appeal to the family matriarch, Lily's grandma Rose, who had always been a neutral party in family disputes. Karen drove out to see her, unannounced as usual, and spent 2 hours crying about how she'd been wronged. To her credit, Grandma Rose didn't buy into it. According to Amanda, who heard the story later, Grandma told Karen in no uncertain terms that she needed to stop causing drama and take responsibility for her actions. "She said that?" Lily asked when Amanda relayed the story. "Yep. Apparently Grandma told her, 'I love you, but this is your mess, and you need to clean it up.'" Karen, of course, left in a huff, but the damage was done. She'd alienated almost everyone in the family, and no amount of crocodile tears could fix that. Meanwhile, Lily and I felt free. The beach house was finally ours. The lawsuit was behind us, and Karen had gone quiet. For a little while anyway. But in the back of my mind, I knew it was only a matter of time. Before she pulled another stunt, Lily and I talked a lot about what our future with Karen would look like. I was ready to cut ties completely. After everything she'd done, I couldn't see a path forward, but Lily wasn't there yet. "She's still my mom," she said one night. As we sat on the porch, "I know she's toxic, and I know she's done awful things, but it's hard to let go completely. What if she really does change?" I didn't want to push her, but I also knew that holding on to hope with someone like Karen could be dangerous. "I get it," I said carefully, "but you've seen what she's capable of. This isn't just a bad habit or a personality quirk. She's deliberately tried to hurt us. That's not something you can just forgive and forget." Lily sighed. "I know. I don't know if I'm ready to walk away completely." So we compromised. Lily kept minimal contact with Karen, an occasional text or a quick phone call, but we set firm boundaries. No unannounced visits, no discussions about the house, and no manipulation. For a while it seemed to work. Karen stayed relatively quiet, only reaching out to Lily with surface-level conversations. I could tell it was hard for Lily to keep her distance, but she was holding firm, and I respected her for it. Then Karen did what classic her does best. She crossed the line. It started innocently enough. Lily got a call from a cousin who mentioned that Karen had been talking about the beach house again. She said something about how it should have stayed in the family. The cousin said, "I didn't think much of it, but I figured you'd want to know." Lily brushed it off, thinking it was just Karen venting. But I could see the worry creeping in. What if she's planning something? She asked me. "She wouldn't be that stupid." I said, "Not after what happened in court. She knows she can't win." But I underestimated just how far Karen was willing to go. One weekend, Lily and I drove out to the beach house to spend a couple of days relaxing. As we pulled into the driveway, something felt off. The front door was slightly ajar, and there was a box sitting on the porch. "What the hell?" Lily said. Getting out of the car, we walked up to the door cautiously. I pushed it open, and my stomach dropped. The living room was a mess. Furniture had been moved. Drawers were open, and there was a stack of papers on the coffee table. On top of the pile was a note in Karen's unmistakable handwriting. It read, "I'm sorry, but I had to step in. This house is too important to let you ruin it. You'll understand someday." Lily stood frozen, staring at the note. "She was here," she said, her voice shaking. And I picked up the papers and started flipping through them. They were estimates for repairs and renovations, new flooring, updated appliances, landscaping. It was like Karen had come in and started planning a full remodel. Without telling us, she broke in, I said, anger rising in my chest. She let herself into our house and decided she was in charge. Lily sat down on the couch, her face pale. "I can't believe this," she whispered, grabbed my phone, and pulled up the security camera app. Sure enough, there she was, Karen walking into the house, with a clipboard and a tape measure, like she was auditioning for HGTV. She had spent hours in the house, going through our things and making notes. Lily watched the footage with me, her expression hardening. With every passing second, by the time we got to the end, she was furious. "She didn't just cross the line," Lily said quietly. "She obliterated it." I nodded. "This is who she is, Lily. She's not going to change. She's always going to feel entitled to control your life." Lily was quiet for a long time. Finally, she looked at me and said, "You know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore." That night, Lily called Karen and confronted her. "I can't believe you would do this." She said, "You broke into our house. You went through our things. How could you think that's okay?" Karen tried to play the victim, as always. "I was just trying to help." She said, "You've been ignoring me, and I thought this would show you how much I care." "This isn't love, Mom," Lily said firmly. "This is control, and I'm done letting you manipulate me." Karen started to cry, but Lily didn't waver. "I don't want to hear from you anymore," she said. "Not until you've actually changed, and I mean really changed. I'm blocking your number, and don't want you coming near us, or the house again." Karen tried to argue, but Lily hung up. Then she blocked her number and deleted her from all social media accounts. It wasn't an easy decision for Lily, but it was the right one. Karen had crossed so many lines that there was no coming back from it. In the days that followed, Lily and I both felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Cutting ties with Karen wasn't something Lily had ever wanted to do, but it had become clear that there was no other option. "This isn't just about us anymore," Lily said one evening, as we sat on the porch. "It's about protecting our future, our peace. She doesn't get to take that from us." The beach house, once a symbol of Karen's interference, was now a sanctuary, a place where we could finally move forward without looking back, and that, more than anything, was worth every battle we'd fought.